We're with Tim O'Donnell, the city manager for Brea, California, who's also the co-chair of the Preparing the Next Generation, which advises and guides the Cal-ICMA coaching program. And Tim is going to talk with us about the innovative things that he's doing in his community, both with his council, his staff, and the citizens around this fiscal crisis that faces local governments. So what are some of the things that you're doing, Tim, and how is that changing the way you're engaging with people?
Primarily what we did, Don, I think, is begin very, very early in the crisis. When we saw the circumstances change back in '07 or so, we made some pretty radical moves up front. And I think if we're in any better shape than anybody else now, it's because we started early. And in a fiscal crisis, time is your friend. It gives you an opportunity to plan, it gives you an opportunity to implement frozen positions that you might be keeping open, accumulate savings if you give them enough time to do that. Circumstances change if you give it enough time to do that. People assimilate different realities in the world and then do something about it if you give them enough time to do that.
Okay, and if somebody is just starting, or coming on this without the preparation and planning and so on that you did, what would you advise them about doing? What are a couple of things that really worked out well for you that maybe people could spin up pretty quickly and help to put into play?
Well, I'm not sure I have good advice on spinning anything up quickly, because a budget issue like we're dealing with in this economy, in our parlance and our organization, is just another issue. And the secret to what we do, if there is a secret, is that we implement a repeatable process whenever we have a particular gnarly problem that we have to solve. And a repeatable process means that you engage people in the same way, you share information and educate people in the same way, you involve the community and the council in the same way, and whatever topic it is you happen to be talking about is what it is. But if you've established the trust and the relationships and the communication linkages, then these issues get a lot easier. For example, in Brea, internally in the organization, we have been using what we're calling internally loosely our learning model, which is basically a methodology we use to problem solve in the organization. And in a nutshell, it's education, it's engagement of anyone in the organization who wants to participate in the problem solving exercise. And it's a process of large group understanding an issue, breaking into small groups to develop options and to do the, not one-on-one, but 5-on-5 kinds of talking where you can actually establish some rapport with people and identify some concepts that take a little bit of explanation. And then we go back to the big group and we chart all those learnings that we have had in those small groups, and we reach a consensus as a large group.
So you're really making a cultural shift in terms of how the organization, the council, and the community work together to solve these problems, and the budget is just one application of that.
Correct. We're trying to make a cultural shift. I'm not sure I can define cultural shifts yet, except you'll know it when it happens.
Okay, but you're creating a process,
Absolutely.
and that you're repeating that process so people know, okay, yeah, we go back to using that set of tools that we've used on some other case in the past, and we're putting that into practice.
That's right. And just like any other group process, the process we use begins with a re-articulation of the values of the organization. Everybody has to understand why we're motivated to be doing this at all. Secondly, I don't like to call them ground rules, but I will call them behavioral norms, have to be established so everyone understands what's expected of one another and the kinds of accountability that you're going to be asked to commit to if you participate in this process. Then the process is fairly repeatable, and the outcomes are never predictable, but the process is. And if you can get the process established, I'm telling you, the issue takes care of itself.
Okay, and so have people come to trust this? Are they referring to it as the process, or in some way that in the community that you're getting a sense that, yeah, this is catching on, people are figuring this out and kind of knowing that this is the way that Brea works?
The external process is far more complicated. My premise with respect to civic engagement, of which I'm a huge fan, is that you can't really do effective external civic engagement with a community unless you have mastered or at least practiced civic engagement within the organization. because otherwise you're sending people, employees, even council members, out into the community to run a process that they aren't intimately familiar with because they're not practicing it themselves on a daily basis. So you have to do both. The order isn't critical, but you have to do both. My preference is that you learn how to do it internally before you go outside. When we've done a couple of external public processes in our budget process this year, and it is incredibly difficult because people walk in the door motivated, in fact carrying a red pencil and expecting to go down a line item budget like you would at home and X things out and challenge expenditures in various ways. And that isn't how it works on a multi-million-dollar budget. So the education piece is very, very tricky on the front end. You want to engage the community at the values level, and people have a hard time understanding the relationship between the values level and how to save $1,000 on a budget.
This sounds like a very valuable process and one that other communities might like to learn about. Is there a way that they can access some information about your approach and learn about that in some more detail on your website or otherwise?
Yes, there is information on our website. I'm proud to say that you could literally walk up to any one of 75 or 100 employees in Brea who have been using this process without any input from me, and they could tell you what's important to them about the process and why it works for them in their particular situation. I'm also proud to say that we recently won an Organizational Excellence Award for our program from the Municipal Management Association of Southern California, again, who recognized its uniqueness in terms of full engagement in the organization and the follow-on results of that engagement, which are total buy-in by the employees who helped create that which you are proposing for the council to implement.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Tim.
My pleasure. Thank you.